Whether the team is giving us the highest of highs or the bluest of blues, we'll cover it all here on Commanders Nightly News. I, of course, am your host, Louie T. Thank you for joining me. Let's get to tonight's lead story. So we kind of got an inkling about what was coming down the turnpike today. Grant Paulson, if you don't know, put out a tweet on Friday, the day after the game. He had a little video cut up, and it read, "Too early to know exactly what's going on with Jayden Daniels, but I've heard he's got an MRI on his knee today after getting banged up last night in Green Bay. Was limping pretty good at the end of the game. Worth keeping tabs on for sure." So Grant Paulson was not at the game. And so someone obviously delivered that information to him. I'm always a little bit cautious of the radio guys giving out information because they're not there. They're not boots on the ground. And so I'm always a little bit cautious. I wanted to hear that from John Keim, from JP Finley, from Nikki Javala, from Ben Standing, someone that is close to the situation, Candy Waller, right? I wanted to hear that from someone that I trust, not Grant Paulson. However, we watched the game. We knew of the exact shot that Jayden took on his knee that probably prompted the MRI. It wasn't the people kept the hip drop tackle. No. Yeah, he might have banged his ankle up there. The hit on the knee, when he looked back at Michael Parsons when he was chasing him and didn't see Bullard, the safety, coming to cut his knees from under him, that's the one that scared the living bejesus and daylights out of me. So that's the one that got him, which was confirmed by DQ today. And so knowing that information, I did a little bit of snooping. And off the record, I was told, and again, I don't know this to be true. That's why I don't bring this stuff to your doorstep. And if the MRI shit never came out, you would have never heard this from me. But now that all this is already out there, I can tell you some of the shit that I heard. Off the record, I was told by someone that they think it's a PCL sprain. Okay. And that he would probably have to wear a brace and that he could play this week. It's not thought to be serious, but they're going to be very cautious with him. I don't know if it's a PCL sprain. It doesn't matter what ligament is actually sprained. He sprained his knee. That's what's important, okay? As for moving forward, what's going to happen with him, it's not my job. It's not your job. There's not any of our jobs to decide when he should come back. I'm hearing a lot of people, well, he should sit this game and the next game and be ready for the Chargers, as if these next two games ain't shit. We can win without him and they're not important. Bullshit. If he can play on Sunday, I want his ass out there on Sunday. The man played with a broken rib last year in the Bears game, and we didn't know the severity of that injury. We just knew he did something to his ribs. We didn't know that they were fractured. We didn't find that out until he was talking to Saquon Barkley and Justin Jefferson at the Madden preview, and he told them, yeah, I threw that Hail Mary with a broken rib. So this man is tough. All of you have PTSD. I get it. You're going straight back to 2012. Don't put him out there. They're not going to put this man at risk. It's football, people, okay? If they think he's going to exacerbate or think he could exacerbate the injury by putting him on, they're not going to put him on the field. How many times have we seen DQ in this group take it slow with someone coming back from injury? And how many times have we heard, we're not going to miss a step, okay? If they think he can go and there's going to be no further damage done, it's more of a pain tolerance issue, they're going to put him out there, just like it was last year. Hey, the rib is fractured. It's not going to get any worse. It's a pain tolerance thing. Well, then he can go out there and play if he says he can go out there and play, and he can do all the things that they need him to do. He was out there running last year. We didn't love it, but he was out there running around against the Bears. He made every throw in that game, and we should have won comfortably in that game if not for the penalties. But a knee is a little bit different than a rib. I'm aware. And for a guy that plays the quarterback position like Jayden Daniels does, I'm also aware of wanting to make sure that he can do all of the things that his game entails. And DQ spoke to that, and we're going to get to what DQ said at his press conference today. You knew it was a big one because we're going to get a lot of updates about things that have transpired over the last few days since the debacle in Green Bay on Thursday night. So bottom line is Jayden Daniels has a sprained knee. We do not know the severity of said sprained knee. We do not know how long this sprained knee is going to keep him out, if at all. DQ termed it day to day, which he should. Now, this is the thing you have to understand. If this were serious, there's no day-to-day designation with a serious injury. JJ McCarthy is already out, folks, with a sprained ankle. Already out next week and possibly the week thereafter. They're going across the water here shortly. He's already out for the next game, possibly two. Joe Burrow is out for the next 3 months. There's no day-to-day if your shit is that serious. So keep in mind, they know what's going on. They have the information. DQ just doesn't want to disclose it right now. They'll have a better picture of where Jayden is physically, which is what's important, because right now he's not out there cutting. He's not out there starting and stopping. They need to see what he can do structurally. How strong is his knee? They'll figure more of that stuff out as we get further into the week. But from a physical standpoint, just looking at the pictures, they probably know the severity of the injury already, which is why they termed him day to day, right? This has nothing to do with a competitive advantage. If a guy's hurt and he can't go, he's out, right? Like I said, Brock Purdy out for 2 to 4 weeks. That's not we'll check on Brock's status on Wednesday and see how he's doing. No, Brock's out 2 to 4 weeks. JJ McCarthy's out for at least a game, possibly more. That's already been decided. Joe Burrow's toe needs surgery. He's out, right? So I just want to kind of give you a picture of what we're dealing with here. I don't think it's extremely serious, but it is a knee sprain. And you do have to take precaution with a guy that is your franchise guy. Like, he is the face of this franchise. He is the franchise, for God's sakes, okay? We understand it. I get why you have PTSD and why you don't want to put him on the field. Hey, let him sit out this game and the next, bring him back against the Chargers. No. If he can play on Sunday, put him on the field on Sunday. If he can't play on Sunday, that's why you brought Marcus Mariota back. That's why you brought the wily cagey vet back. Because in the event of a situation like this, you feel like you can still win football games. We talk about this all the time, the importance of a backup quarterback. With a guy that plays the game the way that Jayden plays it, this is liable to happen. Every so often, you may need to have your backup fill in for a little spell. Jayden Daniels hasn't missed a game in his NFL career to this point. And my money's on Jayden Daniels not missing a game in his NFL career this Sunday either. That's where I'm at with mine until they come back and tell me Jayden's out. And if I know DQ, like I think I know DQ, we won't find that information out until Friday. Even if they know on Wednesday that Marcus Mariota is going to be taking all of the first team reps this week and Marcus is going to start the game, we won't find that information out until Friday. My guess, and we'll see too, another tell will be, do they allow Jayden to come out and do the Wednesday press conference that the starting quarterback usually does? That'll be another tell. I can't remember if Jayden did it last year or Marcus did it before the Bears game. I think Marcus might have done it that week, if I'm not mistaken. I'd have to go back and find out, but I don't care enough to go back and check. But my head is telling me Marcus spoke, because we heard from Marcus on a Wednesday, I think once last week or last year, excuse me. And obviously we heard from him after the Panthers game and after the Cowboys game in week 18. Those were the two games that he finished. But I do believe we heard from him during the course of the week in a press conference setting. And I want to say it was going into that Bears game because we didn't know the status of Jayden. I don't think the media was made available. Jayden was made available to the media that week. That's my guess. I can't confirm that or not. Here's what I will say. Ultimately, Jayden Daniels is a warrior, a high-level competitor. He did not want to come out. He was banged up in the Packers game. The man was limping around after that hit that that injured him. That DQ confirmed injured him. I think the team took a timeout. If I'm not mistaken, that's the play I was bitching about after the game was over when I said, why didn't we call a timeout? We might have called the damn timeout because Jayden ass was struggling. Because he was limping around. We saw it. After the play happened, he dropped down to one knee. He got up, had a limp, and then we didn't see him anymore. They were focused on the Packers defense, and all we heard was Washington used the timeout. Then we know about the play at the end of the game where his ankle got kind of caught and he was limping there as well. And they tried to come get him out the game. He was like, no, I'm good. Just send me to play, right? He's a competitor, bro. So if it's determined that this is simply pain tolerance, you're good. It's a low-level sprain, and you're good, bro. It's really on you if you want to go. He's going to be out there. Now, if it's a significant sprain or one that they are a little cautious with and they're like, yeah, you could probably go, but we don't need to push the envelope in week 3, then they'll sit him. DQ's going to do what's best for him. This is not a Robert Griffin III making a unilateral decision to go back in the game. You know, Mike Shanahan not knowing what the hell's going on. Dr. Andrews is actually on the sidelines. There's mass confusion. Nobody's communicated with anybody, and a guy that shouldn't have been in the game is in the game. They're going to have all the information. All of the facts are going to be spread out across the table in front of them. They're going to get all the information that they need to make a very, very calculated decision. You don't have to worry if they're going to mismanage this or not, okay? Put your PTSD aside and let the professionals handle business. We have adults in the building now. Real functioning, high-level functioning adults running the show. Let them do what they do. We'll be fine. Jayden's going to be fine. I'm not worried in the slightest. I am, however, pissed off that we're even in this predicament, because if we were to come out with a better game plan, i.e., if you're gonna block Micah Parsons with Josh Conley Jr., it better be 2 dudes immediately double team, not a receiver or a running back sort of split out just slightly. They call it a nasty split. Not no nasty split. Close that shit, and it's an automatic double team. He want to go and get away from the double team, run his ass into the guard, and they double team him. Don't leave him over there by his damn self. I thought the whole plan was fugazi on Thursday night. They acted like they didn't know who they were going up against. Again, it felt like some Thursday night behavior. Cliff's game plan was shit from the start. We didn't run the ball. DQ said, hey, the balance won't shit on Thursday. Yeah, you don't say. You don't say. All us fans, these Friday afternoon armchair quarterbacks said, damn, we didn't run the ball last night. That was some bullshit. You think? All of this probably could have been avoided if we would have just went in there with a much more sound game plan than the bullshit that we tried to execute on Thursday night. But that's nor here nor there. That's water under the bridge. What's done is done. Jayden has a sprained knee. We'll move forward from here. This doesn't change the way I view anything, because the man was banged up last year and still played at a high level. But what this does mean is you're going to have to tweak some things. He can't be running around right now until he gets healthier. We saw Jayden 3-game stretch last year. Really, it was more like 5, because it was from that Panthers game. So it was Chicago, the Giants game, then it was the Steelers game, then it was the Eagles game. And I think he was really back by the Cowboys game. The first Cowboys game. I think he was really back by that game. That's when it really felt like, okay, he can run around, he can do all the things that, you know, he was doing before. So we might have to put him on another one of those month plans where, hey, bro, gonna have to scale you back. No more designed runs. Look, you're gonna take off and run because that's who you are if shit gets to that point. But no more design runs. Ball's got to come out of your hands quick. And if we got a chip on both sides, we don't got a chip on Laramie's side, but if we got a chip And we should have been doing this shit from the jump to begin with. If you ask me, if we got a double team, if we got a chip, the shit that we was doing last year to protect Brandon Coleman on one side and Andrew Wiley on the other side, if we got to do that shit for the next month with Josh Connolly to make sure that he's secure on that side, then we got to do it. Why is this even a discussion? We got to protect 5 at all costs. They didn't do that in the Green Bay game. That was a negligent game plan from the jump. That shit was DOA from the moment we stepped into that game in between those white lines. That game plan was DOA. That was a setup for failure game plan put together by Cliff. But again, I'm not even going to kill Cliff because that's Thursday night behavior. I know what I'm dealing with now, so I can't be disappointed. When the man has shown me what he is on a short week, I can't be upset. I know what he is. I expect better when we have a full week of preparation, which we have this week. More than a full week of preparation. The question now becomes, will it be with Jayden Daniels under center, or will it be with Marcus Mariota running the show? Only time will tell. But our star quarterback, our guy, our GOAT, has a sprained knee. This shit sucks. You know, the whole MVP conversation, all that shit's on pause now. Now it's about preservation. I want him out there. And if he's healthy enough, you know where I stand. Put his ass out there, goddammit. We can't afford. We're not in a position to be looking down our nose at the Vegas Raiders or the Atlanta Falcons. I know you watched the Falcons last night. They ran the shit out of the football. They sacked the quarterback 6 times last night. 6 times. They picked him off twice, forced him to fumble. Like they were very, very aggressive, and they harassed the shit out of a second-year quarterback making his second career NFL start. Essentially a rookie. I'm not as afraid of the Falcons defense as I was Green Bay's going into the game. But I'm not looking down my nose at either one of these opponents like we can't get got. I think we can win those games with Marcus Mariota, but I like my chances 100% more with 5 in the game. Sprained knee or not. So if he can go, turn my guy loose. If he can't, are we going to rally around 8? Let's go get it. So anyway, I digress. Let's see what the week brings for the Commanders, what they decide to do with Jayden, again, termed day-to-day by head coach Dan Quinn. And I can't stress this enough. If it were significant, there would be no day-to-day designation. He'd just be out. He'd just be out. Again, J.J. McCarthy played last night, already ruled out for next week's game. Joe Burrow already ruled out and needs surgery and is out for at least 3 months until December. That's at the earliest he can return. So again, if it was serious, if it were truly severe to the point where we know he's not playing this week, we'd know that already. Which puts me at ease, to be honest. But again, we will see what happens. All right, let's get to, in other news, we heard from DQ today. Said a lot of things, but the biggest thing he talked about were the injuries, and there were quite a few. We talked about them after the game. Ultimately, we wanted to learn a little bit more about them, and DQ really didn't give a shit, which I didn't expect. I love him because you ask him a question specifically about something he doesn't want to talk about, and he'll start there and immediately track to something else, and you'll forget about what even the question was, because he'll give you a very thoughtful answer on some shit that you didn't ask, which he did today multiple times. Respect, King. Respect. But we knew that injuries did occur, and we knew that they were going to have to make some roster moves to circumvent some of the injuries that took place. So let's see what the team ultimately decided to do with a number of the injuries. So DQ started his press conference by telling us what we already knew, stating the obvious that both Austin Eckler and Dietrich Wise were both done for the season and effectively probably ending both of their Commander careers, right? Both were signed, or Eckler signed a 2-year deal, but he was on the last year of that 2-year deal, and Wise signed a 1-year deal here. So I don't think either one of them are going to be back next year. I wouldn't rule Wise out. They love him so much, and he had such a role carved out for him here. I wouldn't necessarily dismiss the idea of him being back, but I think both of those dudes are done here in Washington. But I told you that there were some options out there at defensive end, but I'm like, they're just going to bring Jalen Holmes up, right? I told you guys that. I said, it just makes sense. He fits that 280-pound frame defensive end that they're looking for. I'd much rather him start than Javonte John Baptiste. I'd rather Jalen Holmes get those starters reps and allow them to keep the core of the backup group the same, with Von Miller on one side and Jacob Martin on the other side, getting those, 20 to 25 snaps a game and not pushing them up. Like, we don't want another Dante Fowler Jr. situation. Even though Dante Fowler Jr. exceeded all of our expectations, we don't want another one of those situations, right? And then Noah Brown being injured means Chris Moore is elevated to the active roster now. None of us love that, but hey, it is what it is. We already could see the writing on the wall when they weren't able to get Kendrick Bourne here, that Chris Moore was going to be the answer if anything were to happen to Noah Brown. Are we surprised at Noah Brown not being healthy? You shouldn't be. If you are, shame on you. And then here's the big news of the day. The Commanders signed running back Chase Edmonds to the practice squad. Now, here's a move that I do like. Now, he did not play football last year, so that's something to keep in mind. But similar to Zach Ertz, who basically missed a full year of football, not necessarily did, but he did. It might not be the worst thing for a running back to have sat out a year, as long as he's in great shape. And they're going to give him a chance to get on this practice squad, ramp him up a bit and give him an opportunity to get comfortable in what's going on here. And I wouldn't be shocked if we saw Chase Edmonds sooner rather than later, and Chris Rodriguez is brought back down to inactive on most weeks. Right now, Chris Rodriguez is going to be the biggest benefactor of the Austin Eckler injury, as we all knew. But Chase Edmonds is Austin Eckler in this offense. He was with Cliff Kingsbury in Arizona. He's a guy that can catch it out of the backfield and does a lot of the things that Eck did. So as soon as Chase Edmonds gets up to speed on what's being done here, and he knows Cliff's system already, but still has to get reacclimated to everything and then, get into some sort of shape. Even if he's been working out, staying football ready, he's still got to get back into his different being in shape and being in football shape. So they're going to do that with him on the practice squad. I think if he gets up to speed, say in the next 3 weeks, it wouldn't be shocking to me if he replaces C-Rod on the active roster on game days, and Chase Edmonds is kind of filling that Austin Eckler role. My hope is that Bill just takes over. Like, DQ talked about it today, and we'll talk more about what DQ said in particular, right? But my hope is that we get to a point, and DQ said that we're not there yet. Clearly, we recognize that after the way you treated my guy after being the offensive rookie of the week in week 1 and then having 4 carries essentially and only 15 snaps. We saw that you said, hey, we know Bill Mania is kind of reaching this, crescendo, but y'all pipe down. Well, the guy that was allowing you to feel comfortable doing that is no longer on the roster, and so, or no longer available. Just give Bill an opportunity to show you what he can do, right? So that's the hope. And if that happens, then maybe you don't even need a Chase Edmonds to ever be active. You can just roll with J-Mac and C-Rod as compliments to Bill. But with the way they've been handling the situation, Chase Edmonds is going to end up on the field at some point in time. I truly believe that. So something to keep an eye on. I'm gonna give him 3 weeks. 3 weeks on the practice squad, and then I think you see him activated. What are we going into, week 3? So roughly week 6 is the first time I think we may see Chase Edmonds be activated for a game for the Commanders. That's my guess. But we will see. So let's get back to in other news and talk about what DQ had to say at his press conference. He started with the injury updates to Dietrich Wise and Eck, talked about their impacts on this roster and how they're going to be sorely missed, and, you know, really appreciated what they were able to contribute to this team. But he acknowledged that they were both done for the season, which we already knew, right? Then he went into more injuries, and he talked about 4 guys, and we're talking about 3 other guys, right? We were talking about Jayden, Noah, and John Bates. He adds Jonathan Jones. I'm like, the hell is wrong with Jonathan Jones now? The dude ain't been healthy all summer. We get to the regular season. He picks up a penalty in the Giants game. We get an injury to Trey Amos in the game. Jonathan Jones has to come in. Then we don't see him anymore. And now all of a sudden the man's hurt. I'm like, bro, what the F? This is what happens when you're dealing with all these goddamn 30-year-olds, right? These 30-somethings can't be mad when some shit crop up when you're dealing with all these old-ass players, right? These old heads. So he didn't get into specifics. Ben Standing tried to get the specifics with Jonathan Jones because that's the one we don't know what the hell's going on. We never knew. We didn't know in the summertime what was wrong with Jonathan Jones. He just was out. We don't know now. Like, at least with Noah, because he didn't tell us. DQ didn't tell us what was wrong with Noah and John Bates. But we already knew they both had groin injuries. He just said they have soft tissue injuries. But I'm pretty sure he knows that we know because the information was already disseminated to us. But we have no idea what's going on with Jonathan Jones. Jeez Louise, he's injured again. My goodness. So he said they're still evaluating those 4 players. Like, they really don't know what's going on with those guys as far as like how much time they're going to miss. I hear a groin, and as someone who has pulled a groin muscle, strained a groin, whatever you want to call the shit, don't nothing but time heal that shit. Ain't no amount of massaging, ain't no amount of rehabbing. You just gotta rest that groin. Like, John Bates and Noah Brown are missing time, basically, is what I'm telling you. And DQ basically said those 2 are a long shot. This is why I keep reiterating to y'all that Jayden's situation is not the same, because he didn't say that about Jayden. But he said about Noah Brown and John damn Bates, those 2 are long shots. He said, we'll reassess them throughout the course of the week, but they're long shots. Because he knows they ain't playing this week. Probably ain't playing next week either. All right, Ben Sinnott. I'm looking at you, bro. Where your ass was at? Here you go. You've been looking for an opportunity. Here it comes. Son, be ready. So then he got into the line of questioning with the media and opened the floor. And this is how it kind of went. They started out with, what do you need to see from Jayden for him to be cleared to play on Sunday? Like, what does that look like for you? And he went through a list of things that have to be checked off of a list. Strength is the first thing. I think that is the most important thing. Like, structurally, how strong is the knee? If there's any issues with stability, don't put him on the field. Period. End of discussion. I don't have to tell them that. They know that. Okay. And so strength is big. He then said movement. Clearly, movement is important because you're talking about a mobile quarterback who his first instinct, if shit breaks down, is to take off. He's not going to say, well, my knee is not 100%. I should stay back here. No, he's going to take off and run because that's what his body and his mind is going to tell him to do, right? So movement's got to be straight. Change of direction has to be something that he has no issues with. Can he stop? Can he start? Can he plant? Can he go much faster than slow? He's got to be able to still be Jayden Daniels, essentially. Pivoting, right? Obviously, I just talked about the ability to start and stop, the ability to change directions, all of that falls under the same umbrella. And then he talked about his speed. Like, these are all things that he needs to see from Jayden to feel comfortable putting him out on the football field, which I have the utmost trust in this staff and their ability to assess a player and not push them too far. They've done a great job with this since coming on board. We've never been in a situation like we had with Curtis Samuel his first year here, where they just kept putting Curtis back out there, even though Curtis wasn't ready to go. And it just was like, we were just back and forth with Curtis. He played and he was hurt. Then he played and he was hurt. And they're like, just let him sit the hell down for a little while. They're so impatient that we can never get him fully, back on the field. This group hasn't done that with not one player, not a single guy have they done that with. So I trust that they're going to do right by Jayden. And even if Jayden wants to play, but they don't think it's the right thing to do, they're not going to play him. He talked about Noah Brown and John Bates, and he just referenced them as having soft tissue injuries. But we know they have groin injuries. And he also said that those two are a long shot to play this week. Not what we wanted to hear, but we get it. We understand. Bates hurts because if we're talking about running the football, if you're talking about Jayden, even if Mariota's in there and Jayden can't go, you still want to be able to run the football, no matter who is under center. And Bates is such a huge part of us running the football. Like, no one on the roster can replicate what John Bates brings to the table. But Ben Sinnott is going to get an opportunity. Colson Yankoff moves up in the food chain. Now let's see what everybody's got. Bates is your TE2. So now Sinnott's TE2 and Yankoff is TE3. Now let's see what y'all got. DQ was asked about the importance of handling the Jayden injury and is he different than the other guys? You could tell DQ didn't want to say, yes, he's different, but duh, of course he's different. Like, yeah, they're going to take his situation a little bit more carefully. And again, not that John Bates's groin injury and Noah Brown's injury and Jonathan Jones' injuries aren't important. Sure they are. They're part of this team. Everybody's injury means something, but guess what? This ain't like you talking about your kids at home and like, I love all my kids the same. Bullshit. This one here, this one over here, we don't play about this one over here. All right? All these other dudes, man, get well soon. I'll get you a card. This one over here, 24/7 around the clock service. Bro, what do you need? It's different about this one over here. All our hopes and all our dreams and all our aspirations of hoisting a Lombardi rest on the shoulders of this one over here. So you damn right, this one over here matters more than all the rest of these ones over here. And he basically said, yeah, his is probably a little bit more important. You'd think. Of course it is. So yes, they're going to do their due diligence to make sure that he's not out there if they have any concerns, any whatsoever. They have to have zero concerns about him being on the field to put him out there, which I think is going to be the case. He's going to get out there and he's going to practice. He's going to look good. He's going to tell them, I feel fine. The doctor is going to say, structurally, everything's intact. He's good. If he can go, turn him loose. That's what I think is going to happen. But I am not going to be disappointed, nor am I opposed to them saying, not doing it this week. We'll reassess him next week and see how he feels. And if they don't do it next week either, again, I just want my guy to be healthy for the long haul. We are in week 3. We are in week number 3. I am fully aware that this is a 17-game marathon, not a sprint. But what you got to also balance when you start thinking about, oh, just sit him down for 2 weeks, is this ain't the NBA, this ain't the NHL, this ain't Major League Baseball. He's not just missing a 3-game series. He's just not missing a home and home. And, oh, he'll be back next week after missing 4 or 5 games. There's 82 of them. We'll be fine. In this league, 1 or 2 games is the difference between you making the playoffs and sitting your ass at home mid-January, watching everybody else have fun at the party. And you outside looking in the inside of the goddamn party like, damn, that shit look like a lot of fun. I wish we was in there. This Raiders game or the Falcons game next week, which is more important because the Falcons are an NFC opponent that we may be fighting with for a wild card spot if we can't win the division when it's all said and done. That game's way more important, but all these shits matter. All of these shits matter. It's easy to convince yourself of, oh, we got a lot of football left. But then when you start counting up wins and losses, when we start looking at those bricks that you stacked up in the left-hand column and you 1 or 2 short and you start looking back at the season, then you start thinking about, well, damn, what if ... That's why I don't play that game. If he can go, put him out there. If he can't, I got utmost confidence in 8, taking care of business. Speaking of Marcus Mariota and number 8, he talked about when was he, because you got to remember, I totally forgot about Marcus being injured in the summer because I'm just used to Marcus not doing shit in the summertime, right? This is 2 years he's been here and he ain't done shit in the summertime. So I'm like, my brain isn't like anything's wrong. It's just like, hey, that's just what Marcus does. He don't do shit in the summer. But when we need him in the regular season, he's always there. But I got a quick reminder of, oh, no, he was actually hurt. And so they asked him, well, when was he like full go? Did you know he was ready to rock? And DQ was like, that week between the final preseason game and the start of the regular season, he's like, we started to see the glimpses of it in the warm-up before the Ravens game, kind of turned him loose there. He looked good. He looked sharp. He looked like himself. But that next week, as we were preparing, he was full go. And we knew right then and there, okay, he's fully back. No limitations, no restrictions. He's good, which is great to know. I didn't expect to need him at all this season, let alone this early, but here we are potentially, right? So good to know that he's there because I know you guys watched a lot of football yesterday, as did I, right? And one thing you realize when you watched the games yesterday, there were injuries. And Joe Burrow went down, and Jake Browning stepped in and won them that game. And that's the importance. And we found that out firsthand last year, whether it was the Carolina game or the Dallas game in Week 18. We found out firsthand the importance of a backup quarterback and a quality backup quarterback in this league. It's a fine line. It's a fine line. But I saw a comment from someone today who said, if Jayden can't go, we're 1 play away from Josh Johnson being on the field. Don't say that shit to me, okay? Do not say that shit to me. I don't even want to think about that. And you know, what's crazy is I watched the Carolina game probably more than I should have last year because Jayden didn't play in that game. But I watched it quite a few times last year. And it rings in my head, Charles Davis, who called that game for CBS, along with Ian Eagle. See, the fact that I can tell you who called the game, because it's locked in here, is ridiculous. But I remember Charles Davis, because it was a play where Marcus was playing like he ain't had no worries, not a care in the world. He was throwing caution to the wind. And I'm like, hey, bro, easy, buddy. Jayden's not coming back today. The hell you out here doing? And Charles Davis was like, hey, Marcus Mariota's got to calm down. Like, they don't have another quarterback on the roster. Like, he can't be out here running around goddamn John Elway helicoptering and shit for a 6-yard gain on a second down. He got to calm the hell down. I'm like, you're damn right he does. Just the thought of Josh Johnson having to see an NFL game on my favorite team in meaningful reps makes me want to vomit. Makes me feel queasy, sick to my stomach. I don't even want to have those conversations. So do me a favor. Don't say that shit to me. Please. For my well-being, for my sake. DQ was then asked about the Green Bay game, and he gave an assessment. He talked about the lack of balance. Thought we didn't run the ball nearly enough. He talked about the Packers' play pass, which they hurt us. He talked about the slow start that we got off to, which none of us liked, and it really hurt us. And then the Packers run game, which the person that framed the question made it seem like the Packers ran the football effectively on us, and they really didn't. Now, if you add in Jordan Love and his, couple runs, yeah, he ran somebody over. And then, Lord have mercy, Frankie Louvu, I don't know what the hell Oos was doing on that play. He just closed his eyes and dove. Ain't hit a damn thing, right? I mean, we got Jordan Love over here looking like Josh Allen and shit, running dudes over. But I don't feel bad. Patrick Mahomes ran over one of them Eagle defenders, ran his ass slam over. I guess the shit happens sometimes when you don't expect it, but that's bullshit. I don't give a shit. Jordan Love ain't supposed to be running no goddamn body over on his defense. But then again, Baker Mayfield ran over Bobby Wagner in the playoffs last year. Shit happens. Shit happens, man. Shit happens, right? But you add in Jordan Love's run, and then they had the Savion Williams Wildcat run, and it boosted their numbers a little bit. But Josh Jacobs, 23 carries, 84 yards. I'm standing 10 toes down. We stopped his ass, and DQ pretty much kind of dispelled the notion that, Jacobs. So he's like, look, I knew he was a good back going in, and we are gonna have to stop him. He said his biggest run was 10 yards. He didn't hurt us for real. He wasn't the one that did the damage. And then DQ made sure it was the damn tight ends that kicked our ass. You don't say. Not like I wasn't talking about the tight ends for, 2 weeks prior to the game. Not like I wasn't talking about the tight end position every time I got a chance leading up to the game. Nah, tight ends couldn't hurt us. The balance was something that I'm glad he acknowledged, though, because it wasn't near good enough. And anybody, with any kind of football vernacular or IQ, right? You didn't need to watch the whole game to know we didn't run it nearly enough. And my thing was we were never truly out of the game to the point where we didn't have the option to run. We just abandoned the run for no reason. And Cliff does that from time to time. You got to watch him because he's told us before that DQ has done a really good job of keeping him grounded and balanced. And he's told us if, he had it his way, he would turn Jayden loose. That's what he wants to do. That was one of those games where he kind of fell into that trap. DQ talked about a Dietrich Wise replacement. We already knew who it was going to be. I told you guys last week it's going to be, Jalen Holmes. So he said, yeah, Jalen Holmes has, been here already. He didn't get into the specifics, but we already know what time it is. He talked about Jayden's mindset dealing with this injury. And because, obviously those two have talked every day since the game on Thursday. And he was like, honestly, Jayden's such a competitor. We really ain't talk about his injury. All of our conversations have really been on, performance and what we can do to be better moving forward. And again, these are things that he's saying that are leading me to believe that my guy, my GOAT, our GOAT is playing on Sunday. But he said it's Tell the Truth Monday. So that's what I'm doing is I'm making sure that we're talking to these guys and we're telling them the truth. They got to hear it. We got to be better, right? which takes us to the next thing he talked about, containing the tight ends. He said they had over 150 yards receiving that the two tight ends combined. Most of the damage being done by Tucker Kraft. Luke Musgrave had a nice catch too, as well. He's like, a lot of it boils down to eye discipline. Look, eye discipline is huge. Don't lose your luggage. We talk about that all the time. If you are a member of the MOBB, you watch film with me. We talk about eye discipline all the time and not losing your luggage. That's important. But we were just getting cooked. Like, eye discipline ain't got nothing to do with Will Harris getting sized up in the flats and discarded like yesterday's trash. An additional 12 yards is gained on a play that should have brought up 3rd and 9. That ain't got shit to do with eye discipline. That's everything to do with Will Harris simply not knowing the assignment. Bro, this man has you by at least 30 pounds. At least, probably more like 50. What are you doing? What are you doing? Tackle his legs, bro. Guys kill me trying to tackle somebody that's way bigger than them up top. That shit I will never understand. Why your first inclination is to try to go upstairs and tackle a dude who is 30 to 40 pounds bigger than you up top. I'll never get that. I'll never understand that shit. Every time somebody try to tackle Derrick Henry and they go upstairs and they catch this stiff arm, I'm just like, I don't understand what you thought you were about to do. I don't get it. I'm at a loss. He then talked about Terry and, his assessment of him over the first 2 weeks. And he was basically like, look, we had an opportunity in week 1 on a double move, missed him. That would have changed everything in that game from a Terry statistical standpoint. Week 2, Terry was solid, 5 catches, I think 48 yards, something like that. But ultimately, he's still seeing a lot of attention. And like, the beauty is we've got guys that are supposed to be able to take advantage of that. If teams still are opting to double team Terry or roll coverage his way, pay a little bit more attention to him. That's why you brought a Debo here. That's why Noah Brown was supposed to be important, but he can't stay healthy. And that's where other guys are supposed to reap the benefits of Terry being a true number 1 wide receiver. And while we've seen a little bit of it with the Debo's success, we haven't seen enough of it. This is right around where Terry took off last year, week 3. Now, this is the difference. Jayden was healthy in week 3. We didn't have these questions about whether he was going to play or not. Because what really hurts is if Jayden can't go for the next week or 2, and now you're missing more time with those 2 on the field, more time on task. Because Terry missed basically the entire summer and some of the spring. And now Jayden could be out. And so they were just starting to get back into sync, I believe. And we were heading into that week 3. Hopefully that is not going to be broken up by this potential Jayden injury that could keep him out of the lineup. So we'll see. Then he talked about Bill, the DQ, and he said that Bill is capable of doing everything they asked him to do. Because in my mind, I started to try to make excuses because it didn't make sense to me. You guys know, I have to rationalize things for them to make sense to me, to make me feel better. Because if shit don't make sense, I struggle with that. I'm very, very practical, right? So in my mind, I'm like, well, they love Eck because he can catch it out of the backfield, but he's also a guy that they trust as a pass protector. They trust that if he isn't needed in the backfield, he'll get out and make himself, eligible to catch the football. Because, as a wise man once told me, you want 100% of your eligibles out there in the pass route if you can do it on every single snap. So I'm like, maybe Bill's lacking in the pass pro awareness department And so they're not comfortable putting him out there in those situations yet. And then DQ was like, nah, we can do everything. If we didn't trust him to do everything, we wouldn't put him out there. Okay, facts. If I take you at face value, then you got to do better than 4 carries and only 15 reps, bro. In a game where we had well over 60 snaps. Like, that just ain't sitting right with me. I'm at a loss. Help me. Make it make sense for me. If you claim he can do everything, then what are we doing? What are we doing? He's the best you got in that room, and you know it. We all know it. Let's not run from the truth. Let's not try and sugarcoat things. Put your best out on the field. That's what gives you the best chance to win. He was asked about must improve areas. I thought he was going to bring up turnovers or the lack thereof to this point. He did not. That was actually shocking to me because and I think the reason he hasn't brought it up is because we haven't turned the ball over as an offense. You knock on a little bit of wood there, but we haven't turned the ball over on offense. So because of that, it hasn't really been an issue that we haven't forced turnovers. It only becomes this big magnifying problem if you're turning it over and you're not getting any back. So from that standpoint, he's not tripping, but I knew this already, and I told y'all, just treat turnovers like a myth, us forcing them. Treat it like a myth. But he brought up 2 things: limit and generate explosives. And I think he was just talking from a recency bias standpoint, because we have, as a team, we haven't given up, like going back to last year. Giving up explosives wasn't something that we really did a ton of. Like last year, just think back to how many times and when I say explosives, like we gave up a 52-yard catch and run to a tight end, bro. Like, we gave up some plays last year, but how many of them went for over 40 yards? Like, just think. I can think of the DeAndre Swift run down the sidelines against the Bears. Can you think of another play we gave up that was over 40 yards that went for either a touchdown or just a big gain over 40 yards? I'm pretty sure there were more. I just can't think of any, too many more. Like, yeah, we gave up 20, 25, 27-yard, plays, and those are termed explosive. Like, you think about the play that we lost the game against the Steelers on to Mike Williams. That was an explosive play. I think maybe even both of those touchdowns. The first one to George Pickens might have even been over 20 yards. I mean, again, we really didn't give up a ton of explosive play. I'm trying to think of more explosives we gave up last year. The Alvin Kamara trick play against the Saints was probably more than 20 yards. Would be my guess. The touchdown that we gave up right before the half against the Titans last year, the Nick Westbrook-Akine, was probably over. That might have been over 30 yards, just slightly over 30 yards. But, I'm looking at the comment section. Yes, Saquon Barkley runs. Multiple S's, an S on that. The first game, he had the run right up the middle that really broke our back. That one probably was like 30-something yards. I don't think it was 40, though. But it was 30-something yards for sure. The runs in the second game, early in the game, stupid explosive. Both of them probably were over 40 yards. He had 120-something yards in the first quarter on like 5 carries. So, yeah. And then the NFC Championship game, that's a 60-yard run right out the gate. So, but we didn't give up a lot of explosive plays, especially through the air. Like, I just named the Saquon runs and the DeAndre Swift run. There weren't a lot of passes that I can think of that we gave up that were explosive through the air. So this wasn't a problem, is what I'm trying to get at. Like, this wasn't a major problem. But it becomes big, and Jamar Chase hit us for 2 of them in that game last year, early. We were still trying to figure shit out then. right? But this wasn't a major problem last year. I think it's more of a problem now because we're not getting explosive plays. And I thought to this point we would have. And again, if Jayden hits Terry in week 1, maybe we're not having this conversation. But he didn't. We didn't get any explosive plays against Green Bay. We barely could move the ball against them. We looked so anemic and inept offensively in that game. It was startling. It was jarring. I think that's why most of us felt the way that we felt, because we looked so bad. But he talked about limiting and generating explosives, which we definitely need to generate more on our end. And yes, you don't want to give up explosive plays, which we did in the Packers game. And we should have given up more. The Jayden Reed should have counted, if not for a holding penalty. That's an explosive touchdown that would have counted. Mikey couldn't find the ball on a deep ball, and that easily could have been caught if that was a better ball. Matthew Golden got behind our defense. That easily could have been a 65, 70-yard touchdown. So we got to be better, because it could have easily been way worse on Thursday night. And we got to find a way to generate some explosives. So far, all we got is the Bill run. That's it. The Bill run at the end of the game against the Giants is the only real, true, explosive play that we have to our name right now. Which is why he needs to be on the field more, because he can generate those type of plays. You want him, but you won't put the guy on the field that can give them to you. Eck ain't doing that shit, or wasn't going to do it. J-Mac ain't doing that shit. Bill's the guy that can give you those from a run game standpoint. And then he said, we got to play complementary football. Amen to this. Amen to this. This is big, because complementary football, they tried to ignite that on Thursday night. I told y'all, I thought special teams outside of Matt Gay, special teams, I thought was fantastic on Thursday night. They tried their damnedest to give us a shot in the game. And I thought DQ made some very valid points about complementary football. Because special teams, and I'll give you a great example of what complementary football is supposed to look like, and then what we did, which was not complementary football. So Tressway punted his ass off. It was the best Tressway I've seen probably in 3 years. And Tress was kicking the shit out of the ball. And to think, there was a thought that Tress might not be able to go. That was the best I've seen Tress kick the football. Talking about distance, hang time. You know, the coverage on that shit was beautiful. 2 of the Packers' drives for touchdowns were 90-plus yard drives that started, obviously, inside their own 10-yard line. So that means Tress not only kicked the shit out of the ball, but the coverage unit got down there and made tackles. So the special teams set the defense up to go out there, get a stop, either force a turnover, do it yourself, but we know you ain't like that. So then get the stop, 3 and out, force them to punt the football, and give the offense tremendous field position. That's how complementary football works. Special teams set you up, defense do their job, offense gets a short field. Now we can go get some points. Didn't happen. That chain of command was broken with the defense when they decided to give up the 90-yard touchdowns. Another example of special teams saying, hey, I got you. You're down 14-3 at half. Debo comes out, breaks off a nice return, gives you life. Special teams setting the offense up. Go get points. Unable to do that. You get points there as an offense. Now the defense has a little bit of momentum and juice coming back on the field to start the second half in a closer football game. Now they are incentivized to go out there and make some shit happen. The chain of command was broken there when the offense went out and stunk it up and couldn't take advantage of tremendous field position given to them by Deebo Samuel on the return. We have to play better complementary football. Look, don't look to the defense to force a turnover. Don't look for that to happen to set up a short field. But Everybody's got a job to do. And we got to do a better job of it. Complimentary football. And then his last thing was offensive execution. You know, just being better. He's like, everybody knows the offense now. This is Cliff's second year here. There's no excuse for people to not know the offense. We know the offense. Now we just got to better execute what it is being called. We just got to be better. Simply put, we just got to be better. I am not mad at that. So we're going to take a quick break, get a word from one of our sponsors, come back on the other side, get to any comments, and then we'll get out of here. Oh, shit. Sleeper. Sleeper is the best way to experience and connect over sports together. It's a one-stop shop for all of your sports needs. You can celebrate and chat in the games in real time with other users, get the fastest scores, blazing fast news and alerts right at your fingertips. Play in fantasy leagues and win real money on picks contests. So enjoy sports the way they were meant to, together. Download the #1 sports app today. Predict the hottest football stats like passing yards, receiving yards, touchdowns, interceptions, and much more to cash in on your daily fantasy football skills. Use promo code LTN and Sleeper will match your first deposit up to $100. Terms and conditions apply. See Sleeper's terms of use for details. Currently operational in over 25 states. Check out Sleeper today. Sleeper. All right. I appreciate y'all for letting me know there was no sound. I don't know why I always do that. I guess I'm so accustomed to doing that on, my regular stream that I be forgetting that I got to play it off of StreamYard and not off of OBS. So I appreciate y'all for letting me know. So let's get to the comment section and then we'll get out of here. Won't hold you here longer than I need to. Paper Trail, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Shout out to the mob, first and foremost. Y'all know what it is. Stand up. We in the building as always. Also, shout out to all of my Patreon subscribers and members over there. Paper Trail, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Who writes, one downfall of turning a 4-win team into a 12-win team is not having access to the young impact talent that you get when you steadily improve. Yeah, that is one of the unintended consequences that come from the quick turnaround. Like, also another thing that happens is this roster isn't fully developed. And because you win 12 games doesn't make you a great roster. It just means you won 12 games. We have a great quarterback that makes up for a lot of the ills that this team has. And again, we were coached really well last year. That's something else I don't think people really give the staff credit for. We were well coached last year. We have not been well coached through 2 games this season. So that is something else that we just haven't seen this year. Last year, we did not make some of the boneheaded mistakes and we did not do some of the things that we have seen this year. We have not executed in the 2-minute drill before half in the first 2 weeks yet. That was something that we were extravagant at last season. So you're absolutely spot on, Paper Trail, that you do not get to reap the benefits of steadily improving year after year with young players that you've drafted and guys you've brought in here to help turn the tide. We're opting for the 1-year quick fix while we continue to try to add guys that we think are going to be long-term solutions. But in the place of those guys having to come in and have an impact right now, we're going to also supplement the roster with veterans. And I don't hate it, by the way. I don't hate it. I don't hate it because Jayden put you in a position where you feel like we can win now. So it beats the alternative. Frankie, yo, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB. Frankie, yo, writes, Josh Johnson makes you feel sick. What did John Beck do to you in 2011? I told y'all I was wilding back in 2011. I was singing songs and shit for John Beck until I watched him play against the 49ers and then ultimately the Bills. And I was like, oh yeah, he ass. But yeah, I was singing songs and shit, man. In 2011, my brain was warped, bro. My brain wasn't functioning at a high level. I know now that if you would have sent John Beck-esque quarterback my way at my current state, oh man, I'd have shot that shit down in 2.6 negative seconds. Like, get that shit out of here, man. Goddamn Rex Grossman and John Beck. The hell is this? This ain't no goddamn quarterback battle. The hell I'm supposed to do with this shit? I can't get jiggy with this shit. Yeah, Josh Johnson, I got those type of vibes. Like I never want to see this man on the field, ever. He should always be in civvies on the sidelines, never in a uniform. And with the way the rules are set up, every week he's supposed to be in a uniform. I would prefer to see him in civvies, honestly. Still can't believe he even made the roster, bro. Still can't believe he made the roster. I want to know what Jeff Driscoll did to them. What did he say? What did he do to the staff? I need answers. Why wasn't he here? What did Jeff Driscoll do to y'all? If I could get off the record, if I got to ask DQ 5 questions, I would ask him, hey, what Jeff Driscoll do to y'all, man? What happened there? That'd be one of my questions. Something had to have happened, bro. You can't tell me that was an amicable split. Because if so, I'm lost. Help me. Help me. Video channel. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB who writes, this old roster breaking already. I wouldn't say that. Like, it's okay. So the old guys are getting hurt. Okay. Dietrich Wise older. Alston Eckler older. Noah Brown older. Jonathan Jones older. But John Bates isn't old and Jayden isn't old. Like, injuries happen, bro. Injuries happen. It's the sport that they play. It's the sport that we love. It's a physical game. And, Thursday was rough. It was rough. We'll be fine. We'll be fine. We'll be fine. Christopher McLaughlin, my guy, C-Mac, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB. My guy, Chris, writes, hey, Lou. What's up, Chris? Hope all is well with you and the fam. Likewise, as always. 2 questions. 1, how do you think the quality of the NFC, Green Bay, Detroit, San Fran, LA, Philly impacts whether Daniels sits or not and why? And 2, what are you expecting from Jay Lane with the Brown out and why? So the first question is easy. Those teams have no bearing or impact on what they decide to do with Jayden. They're going to do what's best for us, which they should. We don't know how good the conference is right now still. It's still a filling out process. Detroit looked good. They bounced back in a major way. I told y'all last week that I thought the death of the Detroit Lions was grossly exaggerated. And they showed that they're alive and well against Chicago, but that was also against Chicago and Ben Johnson, who haven't seemed to have found their footing yet. So you can't know if Detroit is actually back or if they just took advantage of an inferior opponent. Doesn't matter. They scored 50+ points, right? I think Detroit's going to be good. Green Bay, we know they're good, right? We know Philadelphia is good. San Fran, I'm not sure about them, right? They've played 2 ass opponents. I shouldn't say ass because Seattle's not ass. That's actually a quality opponent. But that's family business too. And they took care of family business there. But New Orleans stinks. They're one of the worst teams in football. And the Rams, I think, are going to be a really good team this year as well. But that doesn't impact what we do. You know, we got to do what's best for us and take care of our guys. And so, if I've already said this, you don't need to, as fans, we don't need to put any more on this Jayden situation than this. If he can go and they don't feel like he can exacerbate the injury, his knee is structurally fine, it's a pain tolerance thing, and he's shown well in practice this week, they're going to play him. If they think he needs some time, the knee needs time, he's not ready, or they just want to play it safe, he won't play. It has nothing to do with any external factors. None. This is all about what's in the best interest of this team and Jayden Daniels moving forward. And if that means playing, they're going to play him. If that means sitting him, they're going to sit him. And again, it don't matter about the opponent. It don't matter about what other teams are doing. We got to do what's best for us. So that's number one. Number two, Jalen Lane. I'm gonna be honest, I was really disappointed with him against Green Bay because he didn't play with any strength. He didn't play with any play strength at the receiver position. That I could have run out there and ran a better route than he ran on that slant on that fourth down. I could have ran a better route. Seriously, I could have ran a better route than him. That was a terrible route. There was no physicality. He let the corner dictate to him how that whole shit was going to go. When that corner didn't fall for all of that dandruff he was doing, he needed to then initiate some contact and play through that. And instead, he let the dude basically play through his body to get to the football. It looked like a JV receiver for the first time out on varsity getting a rep in a game and just not being ready for the level of competition. That's what the shit looked like to me. He looked outmatched on that particular snap. And he showed me in the preseason that he can play, but those were against guys that are of equal or lesser value than he is, right? Those are against guys that aren't on the Cincinnati Bengals roster right now, right? Who aren't playing meaningful snaps on an NFL roster. So I need to see him be able to do it against higher level competition. This is what I can say. They can do a better job of getting him involved and touching the football without him having to actually do anything crazy. Like, he's fast, right? Can he run by somebody? If so, how come we haven't seen that yet? How come we haven't seen that yet? At least a shot to him. If he can run, you can go all verts. You could line Debo or Terry up right next to him. The attention, I swear the attention is going to go with that guy, right? And then you get one-on-one on the outside. You just, all right, Jalen, let's see what you got. You could run a jet sweep with him. You could throw him a wide receiver screen, something. We just haven't blocked a soul on a wide receiver screen this year. I don't know what the hell is going on, why we can't block a wide receiver screen this year. But we look ass. We look like straight cheeks in the receiver screen game this year. We got to get our asses in gear and block some damn body. We let the dude for the Packers run through two dudes to blow up the wide receiver screen we tried to throw early in the game. Like, what are we doing? Jalen Lane, I don't think is the guy they're going to count on to step up. We saw in week 1 when they elevated Chris Moore, he was the one in the game. He was getting reps. Chris Moore played a ton in week 1. My guess is they trust the veteran more than they trust the young fella. And they're going to put Chris Moore out there. God help us all. God help us all. But that's what it feels like. Shot by Sean. Stand up. You are the newest member of the MOBB. Mob, you know what to do. Show Shot by Sean some love. Welcome him with open arms. Show him what it's like to be a member of the MOBB. Welcome to the squad. Shot by Sean. Glad to have you on board. Ray Riz, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB. Who writes, Lou, you still at 12-5? That's what I had, but yeah, ain't shit changed. What changed? Because we lost in week 2 to Green Bay, which should have been a loss on most of us predicting the schedule. Yeah, they beat us up a little bit. Thursday night behavior. That's what I'm chalking it up to. Because Jayden's a little banged up. Jayden was a little banged up last year. He'll be fine. Nothing that has happened in the first 2 weeks has changed my mind on this team. Sucks that we lost Dietrich Wise. It sucks that we lost Austin Eckler. I already, in my mind, started talking that Noah Brown ain't here shit. So that one doesn't. John Bates hurts. I ain't going to hold you. John Bates hurts. Because if you're really trying to truly establish the run, you need John Bates on the field. That one hurts. 87 hurts. He'll be back at some point, but that shit hurts. Jayden and 87, those are the two right now that I'm like, hey, man, as soon as you can get back on the field, we really need you, bro. We can get by without Noah Brown. We can survive. We can survive without Noah Brown. We'll be fine. I haven't flinched yet. You got to understand who you're talking to. I'm an optimist. So until you show me a reason to be pessimistic, 2 games in isn't going to change the way I feel about this team. If anything, I feel even better about us after watching what the Giants just did to the Cowboys. That win feels even more validated now. What we did to them defensively makes me feel even better about us. Maybe that's more of an indictment on Dallas than it is anything about us, but I feel even better about what we were able to do against the Giants. Russell Wilson threw for 450 on them boys. 450. They scored 37 points. Do you hear me? They didn't even score a touchdown against us. Yeah, Green Bay did some good things against us, and it could have been a lot worse. They scored 27 points, bro. For as bad as we played, in past years, we would have lost that game by 50 with as poorly as we played. That would have been that Chicago Bears game from 2022. That's what last night would have been in previous years, or 2023, excuse me. That's what that would have been. The Chicago Bears game from 2023. Instead, it was a 9-point loss, bro. Like, yeah, no, I'm still 12-5. Ain't shit changed for me. I might be crazy. So don't follow me. But I'm not tripping. I ain't tripping. Now, I will tell you, I need to see this staff get their ass in gear. That's the shit mentally that I'm like, hey, what y'all over here doing, man? Get y'all shit together. That's 2 straight second quarter, 2-minute drill drives. Then y'all done effed up. And we ain't getting no points out of. What are y'all doing? Game management has been on E. What are y'all doing? That needs to be corrected. They've built up enough equity with me, though, that I'm going to assume that they're going to auto-correct this. Everybody is in getting, into the rhythm and flow mode, including the staff. And I got to cut them a little bit of a break. I hold them to a high standard, so I expected them to be ready right out of the gates. But I also have to, and I started thinking about this. I had a long weekend and a lot of time to think about shit. This staff, too, was overloaded. Knowing that we had a quick turnaround week 2, they were preparing for the Giants, but they had to be simultaneously preparing for Green Bay. And it's almost like if you've heard the expression, if you have 2 starting quarterbacks, you really don't have one, right? Like if you're really good at all these things, but you're not great at one, right? It kind of felt like with both games, You're prepared for 2 games, so you really never got to prepare for one, if that makes sense. You prepared for 2 different opponents because you knew the turnaround was so quick. You really didn't put all your preparation into one game. They ain't done that yet this season, where they just said, we ain't focused on no other opponent, just this game, this team, that's it. This will be the first time they've done it all year. I started thinking about all this shit. Like, I got to cut them a little bit of a break. Their brains were overloaded too. No more passes, though. Now, it's back to normal, back to business as usual. You had a full 10 days to get prepared for these Raiders. DQ was asked about the tight end position, and yes, they brought up Brock Bowers, and he's like, yeah, that's some shit we got to deal with this week. Yeah, you don't say. Well, let me see what you're going to do to neutralize their best player, because that's a problem right now. We'll see. So I started thinking, and I started coming up, again, I have to rationalize things in my brain to make them make sense, because the shit that I was seeing, it just wasn't making enough sense for me. I know we're better than that. We're more talented this year than we were last year. And I don't want to hear the excuse of, oh, we snuck up on teams last year. Bullshit. They can know what's coming and they still can't stop it. Because there's variations, there's wrinkles, there's different things that we can do. I expect to see this team be sharper in week 3. I expect the coaching staff to be sharper in week 3. I expect the execution to be sharper in week 3. Whether it's Jayden or Marcus, I expect this team to look better, period, in week 3. All phases. Matt Gay, you better get your monkey ass in gear. Because I'm already sick of your shit. And after watching the game, we're going to talk about that tomorrow. Jason Rogers, my guy, Uncle Jay. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB. My guy, Uncle Jay, writes, we don't speak about that Bears game around here. Enough said. I won't bring it up again. we treat that like Bruno, right? We don't speak about that shit no more. Touche. I won't bring it up anymore. You got my word. Anyway, I digress. Hey, do yourself a favor. Watch the Raiders game tonight. I know it's late for some of y'all. May have to go to work, but check out what you can. That's the next opponent. Get a head start, right? We watched the Falcons last night. That's the opponent after this one. So you've had a chance to watch these boys, so you kind of know what we're getting ourselves into. I'll be watching tonight very intently. I'll come back and report my findings, and then we're going to turn the page, man. Enough of this Green Bay shit. Enough of all this morbid gloom and doom shit. I'm here to talk about winning some football games, which we're going to resume doing in week 3 versus these Raiders that we're going to watch tonight. That's a much improved Raiders team. That's why I said, don't think you're going to show up half-stepping and get it done. Them boys are legit now, but so are we. Anyway, that's going to do it for me, your man Louie T, here on Commanders Nightly News Live. I will see you guys a little bit later on tonight for the post game, overtime. If not, I'll see you guys tomorrow. CNN tomorrow. Commanders Kings tomorrow. So, till then, I'm your man Louie T, signing off. You guys, have a good one. Take care. God bless. Good night.
Here comes the diesel. There's the snap, hand to Riggins. Good hole. He's got the first down to the 40. He's gone. The 35, the 30, the 20. He's gone.